Hey, so just a quick review today of calculating volume. Real quick, calculating. We talk about finding volume, but when we talk about calculating, we're wanting to look more at what sort of equation can we use where we're either adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. Not necessarily counting um, cubes or counting an amount, but actual use of math operations that we just explained. So let's talk about a couple of things here first. One of those things would be when we're looking at volume, we're going to be looking specifically only at three-dimensional rectangular prisms, so something that's made out of rectangles or squares. So for instance, let me get my smartboard hooked. Let's say that I have a shape here where my base layer is made up of 8 cubes. It could be inches, centimeters, whatever. Okay, so let's say that, let's start over here. My base layer here is made up of 8 cubes. So I've got, okay, we say base layer because it's our bottom. Now if I add some depth to that, I go from just having a layer or a row of 8 cubes to now 2 layers of it. So in this one layer, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cubes, and then another 4 rows of 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 behind the 5, 6, 7, 8 row that you see. When we get to big, that works fine here, counting all those cubes. But when we get to bigger numbers or larger rectangular prisms, it's a lot of counting. So we know by understanding that our first layer is made up of however many rows of however many in each group. For instance, let's say we have 5 rows here. Of 11 in each row. Then I know this first layer has 55 cubes because I know that 5 rows with 11 in each is 55. If I have 3 more layers of that, so here's 1, here's 2, here's 3 layers, I know I can take 55 in one layer 3 more times. 55, 55, and 55. Thus giving me 165 total cubes. So when we begin to calculate that, we start to realize we don't need to draw out all the cubes. We can just look at these 3 dimensions, length, width, and height, and just multiply them together. length times width times height equals our volume. Now, the other thing we have to consider is, since we're measuring something, we also need to know what unit we're using. So let's say it's centimeters. That's a measurement of length. So each of these is measured into centimeters. This line is 12, this line is 8, this line is 4. When I go to measure the volume of them, however, we are now looking at how we're filling an entire cubic or three-dimensional space, which we call a cubic space. So now our centimeters are cubed. So we can write centimeters to the power of 3. We're taking a number by itself 3 times. Or we can say something like CUCM, cubic centimeters, centimeters cubed. There's a lot of different things. Make sure you're starting to check those labels as well. You can give this one a try on your own. Have your teacher check it when you're done, and they can tell you what to move on to next.